Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight podcast powered by CKREU. I'm your host, Sarah Brookbank. We have a bunch of guests on today's episode of the podcast. First up, we are joined by Sandra Woodall of EC Learn and Kate Dean of Childcare Aware of Kentucky. They discuss childcare assistance programs available to employees and businesses in Northern Kentucky. We are also joined by Eric Owsley and Lauren Allhands of the Brighton Center. They talk about Brighton Center's 60 years of impact and their workforce development programs. Thank you to our podcast sponsor, CKREU, Google and Amazon advertising experts. Now let's go hear from our sponsor, meet our members of the week, and I'll be back with this week's guests.
Ranking on Google Search and Maps is easy to understand, but hard to do. It requires constant effort and attention. Uploading new photos, responding to Google reviews, writing weekly posts, and checking suggested updates. Google listing optimization takes experience and time, and there are no shortcuts. CKREU gives your Google My Business account the steady, consistent attention it needs to be effective, optimizing, updating, and expanding critical content every single week. From local retail stores to large regional networks, CKREU generates content, establishes benchmarks, and creates dramatic, measurable increases in engagement. So what can CKREU do for your business? More calls, more clicks, more clients.
Congratulations to our members of the week. You can learn more about these businesses by following the Northern Kentucky Chamber on social media, where we highlight one of these businesses each day. Now, let's meet our members of the week. Codebreaker NCLEX guides nursing students to NCLEX success. The Academy of Dental Assisting and Professional Training provides the most accurate training in a low-stress environment. Risen Electric is a licensed electrician in Florence, providing residential and commercial electrical repair services throughout Northern Kentucky. Baptist Life Community, BLC, is a champion of senior living and senior care services in Northern Kentucky. Performance Services is a design, build, construction company. Hi, everyone. Today on the podcast, I have some friends here from EC Learn and Childcare Aware of Kentucky. I'm going to have you both introduce yourselves today.
All right, great. So I'm Kate Dean. I work with Childcare Aware of Kentucky. I'm the Director of Community-Based Partnerships and Strategy.
So good to be back. I'm Sandy Woodall. I am the founder and executive director of EC Learn.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to have you both on today. We're talking about childcare, especially as it relates to the workplace. Sandy, we've had you on a couple times to kind of talk about the importance of childcare when it comes to working parents and just the economy in general in the workplace. Touch on a little bit, like, what is that importance? What are the numbers behind that?
Yeah, so Kate and I really believe that childcare is an infrastructure for employers to really retain and hire quality, good employees. And so when you invest in childcare, it decreases your absenteeism and your turnover. And so absenteeism goes down about 60%, and your turnover goes down about 30% when you invest in childcare.
Yeah, so that's a big bottom line for businesses that are dealing with turnover or just like dealing with certain things. I know everyone is trying to attract and retain employees in this workforce environment right now.
Absolutely. And so childcare plays a role in that, because when you think about who's entering into the workplace and who's going to end up being kind of your mid-level employees, it's going to be those who have young children. And so if they have young children, there's young children who have needs at home. Where do they go? What do they do while parents are at work? So it's just a really important way to keep your staff happy and make sure that their family needs are met.
Yeah. And when they have consistent quality childcare, that they're able to be focused on the task at hand at work and not worried about what's happening to their, tiniest, loved ones.
Yeah. We had another chamber member on recently talking about caring for parents. Mm-hmm. We talk a lot about this sandwich generation, especially when it relates to the workforce. Like you said, those mid-career people. What are you guys kind of seeing in that space? Are you guys seeing an increase of people that are caring for children and their aging parents?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely we do. And so when you think about that, a lot of our families are getting double hit because they don't necessarily have someone at home who can take care of their young children, because they are also taking care of their parents. And that comes from society choosing to have children at a little bit later age than they have historically.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times we'll talk about dependent care in general and investing in that. So you you have the order generation that can be tended to, as well as, the children are in childcare.
Yeah. And so there are a couple of things that we want to talk about in terms of childcare specifically. Obviously, that is your all's area of expertise, especially when it comes to subsidizing that. There are two different options that employers and employees can take advantage of. I know there are two of them that you wanted to talk about today. Can you guys dive into those a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Child Care Assistance Program, which you'll probably hear called CCAP, is available to families who meet a certain income threshold. And so that's considered a subsidy, similar to what you would see if, say, someone needed help with food assistance or needed help with cash payments, those types of things. And the salary range is pretty high right now. I don't want to quote the salary range because that changes depending on decisions made at the state level, but it plays into the employer child care assistance partnership, which Sandy will talk a little bit more about. But it's important to understand the child care assistance program because anyone who is eligible for the employer child care assistance partnership cannot also be eligible for the child care assistance partnership. So any business that's interested in finding the first step of care for their employees would look into the child care assistance program.
Okay, so one and one. You don't get both. So Sandy, tell us a little bit more about the employer side.
Yeah, so the Employer Child Care Assistance Partnership Program really leans on three partners, and that's the child care, the employee, and the employer. And so the employer says, I want to invest in childcare. They make that amount up what they want to invest towards going to paying to an employee's childcare. So for example, EC Learn is part of that program because if I'm going to be out there saying this is a really great investment, I want to put, my actions to my words. And so say EC Learn dedicates $100 to their employees each month. The state will match that $100 up to 100% or as low as 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So your employee could get a $200 reimbursement going towards childcare, or they could get $150 going towards childcare. And it depends on their income. And so that percentage goes from 50% all the way up to 100 and anywhere in between. So you might have an employee that gets an 80%, or you might get an employee that gets 75%. And again, that's based on household income, but we don't want to say what that is right now because that is flexible. And so we don't want to say, yes, it's this amount. And then you go and think that you'll get this percentage, but the, state has made an adjustment. So it's really kind of looking at then the child care payments go directly to the child care. So no money is exchanged from the employer to the employee. So it doesn't impact taxes of the employee because we get that question a lot. Like, well, do they have to pay taxes? No, they do not. It's seen just like a health care benefit. And so this investment goes directly to childcare.
Yeah, and that's really important. Did you want to say anything else on that?
I just wanted to say that it's important to keep in mind that this is a way to have a public-private partnership. And so it is designed specifically for those who are in the private sector to be able to support their employees.
Yeah, and that's a really great note, especially I know we have a lot of different types of businesses and organizations listen to the podcast, so thank you for that. One of the things I know that you wanted to talk about is the importance of businesses getting behind these efforts. How can employers help?
Yeah, well, that's what Kate and I and our teams focus on is being that resource for employers and employees. And so just reaching out to us, and we have a central line that we like to use, and that's through the NKY Works in Kentucky. And it's 859-657-WRKS or 859-657-9757 to call, and you would reach Vicki Burling, and so she can get you connected to one of us or both of us, or you can email at nkYworks@nkadd.org. And again, that's nkYworks@nkadd.org. A lot of alphabets.
Yeah, and that's just a good place for people to go to get started if they want to learn more, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are there any other ways that employers can take an active role when talking about childcare for their employees?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are a lot of different ways. And one of the nice things about the work that Sandy and I do through NKY Works is that there are a variety of committees that businesses can can get involved with if they have some ideas of what they would like to see move forward, or if they're not so sure, they just know they definitely want to be involved. And then through consultation with EC Learn and Childcare Aware of Kentucky, they can start kind of a grassroots process inside their walls, or they can choose to become a part of more of a community coalition where they look at the local needs beyond simply their employees, but also including the employees of others.
And I think one of those partnerships that Kate and I bring to the table is a needs assessment. And because sometimes employers don't know where to start. So they hear that this is a wonderful opportunity, whether it be CCAP or ECAP, and they just don't know where to start. And sometimes it's simply just coming in to hear what the need is of their employees. Is it kind of shifting some family-friendly policies? Is it having more access to different times and types of childcare? So family childcare is a great option for second and third shift. So there might be opportunities where employees have spouses or partners or significant others that are already caring for their own children. And how does that work? And then, childcare programs have opportunities to partner with slots and scholarships that Kate and her team help with as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a really nice way to start that conversation and be thinking outside the box. We do have examples of other employers around the state that have made decisions on how best to move forward with theirs. But one of the reasons we say it's so individualized is you may have a very small staff, and getting to the place of a decision might move faster than, say, you're a large manufacturing organization that needs to think through not only their regulations, what's on site, but then also what's the demographic of their employees at this current time? What will it look like projected in the next few years? And so we're there to be able to help guide those questions and go through that process.
Yeah.
I will add too that Kate talks about the businesses throughout the state, but we have a very big trailblazer here in CVG that took on understanding the CCAP and the ECAP processes, and they've been willing to talk to others in our community that want to take a look at how they can support those initiatives and investments as childcare as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've been a great partner.
Yeah, you talk about a big employer in the area. CVG is, one of our biggest. So it's great to know that you guys are working collaboratively together and with these organizations to find solutions. I know when I talk to my friends about childcare issues, I'm like, whoa, that sounds crazy. Nanny shares, I know more about it than I ever thought I would need to know. But tell me a little bit more about the partnership and the type of work that you two are doing together and your organizations are doing together.
All right. So with EC Learn, we're the local childcare resource and referral entity. And so we're able to leverage resources locally and blend and braid some of our funding while working side by side with the state childcare resource and referral entity of Childcare Aware of Kentucky. And so while we do very similar services, we really bounce off of each other and leverage those services to make an impact and influence in the field of early childhood education and care itself, outside of just childcare. But childcare is such a huge infrastructure for employees. And another opportunity that we do is having referrals and access to childcare, because sometimes families don't know where to start. And so we provide orientation packets for enhanced childcare with EC Learn, and then there is a state level of referral as well that, my team will go in and they'll want to know what they're looking for childcare close to their residence, if they're looking for childcare close to their employment. Do they want a center-based? Do they want, in-home? And so we can make sure that we're making the needs of the families and the employees where they are.
Yeah.
And so Childcare Aware is known as the state network for childcare resource and referral. We are fully state funded through the Division of Childcare. And so we have some specific outcomes that we have to work towards. But one of the nice things is that we're also connected statewide. And so being connected statewide, we can learn from other areas and then bring that information to Northern Kentucky. And because Northern Kentucky is a trailblazer, we've been able to take that information and have it grow across the state as well. And when Sandy's talking about being the local resource and referral network and the enhanced services that she provides, we try to figure out ways to leverage one another's resources in the best way so that every partner or community stakeholder gets what they need across the board.
Yeah. I think another thing I appreciate about our partnership is EC Learn's team focuses on recruiting and supporting in-home family childcare. and Kate's team focuses on center-based. And so if I'm in a meeting or a community meeting and someone wants to learn more about center, I'm like, oh, I'm going to bring in my good colleague Kate Dean, and she's going to talk to you and make sure the next best person on her team is supporting them, and vice versa. If Kate's in a meeting and she hears something about family childcare, she's able to connect me or my team to that. So I really love the opportunity to use that collaboration, and we're always keeping our ears open for how we can support each other in that partnership.
Absolutely. I like to think about that as we try to create stakeholder opportunities where everybody's looking out for one another. So it's not just keeping in mind what I might get out of it, but it's what might Sandy be able to do, how might families be able to benefit, and what other stakeholders can we bring in.
Yeah, I love that. You guys are really looking out for, like you said, the littlest Kentuckians here and their families. So it's been so great to talk to both of you. Before I let you go today, anything else that we didn't cover, anything else you think our viewers and listeners need to know about the work you're doing, about childcare, about getting connected to these resources?
I just think remembering that NKY Works is a great place to start. It covers a lot of the area, and there are a lot of different ways to get involved. If you're a business, if you have a business or you work for a business, if you are interested in being a part of that solution, we'd really like to hear from you.
And I would just like to add that, childcare is an infrastructure. It's not just a benefit. Childcare is the workforce behind the workforce, and it's your future workforce, because when we're investing in our youngest Kentuckians, we're building, the soft, durable skills that future employees need.
Yeah, well, that is an incredible sign off. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Today on the podcast, I am joined by the team at Brighton Center. Guys, welcome. I'm going to have you both introduce yourselves.
So I'm Eric Owsley. I'm the Corporate and Community Engagement Administrator.
And I'm Lauren Allhands. I'm the Workforce Development Director.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for coming. I am so excited to have you on. Brighton Center is celebrating a huge anniversary, 60 years this year. So many people in the community know about you, have been impacted by your work, and just seen the great things that you're doing in the community. Tell us about this journey. Tell us about this 60 years.
Well, we started in 1966 with Appalachian families migrating to northern Kentucky, just looking for the best quality of life possible, looking for work. And that's where we started, on 8th and Brighton. That's where we got our name, Brighton Center. And it was a youth center at the time. And we expanded from one location to 45 different programs. Thinking about the past 60 years and the impact we've had, particularly in the city of Newport, but region-wide.
Yeah, and that's incredible. I know you guys have been there, and you guys are doing great work. Tell us a little bit about the mission that you guys have today and the types of things that you're doing in the community now.
Yeah, well, our mission is self-sufficiency, creating opportunities for families to reach self-sufficiency. So a lot of nonprofits, they specialize on one thing. Some's mission is food. Others' mission could be shelter. But Brighton's is self-sufficiency. So currently we have 45 different programs ranging from recovery services, workforce development, which Lauren's going to talk a little bit more about, financial wellness. But what we try to do is co-partner with families. We don't work upon families. We work with families. So even calling our families customers, right? Because customers get to choose. So really, there's no wrong door at Brighton Center, whether it's going through a workforce program or getting some food. We really try to bundle our services, wrap around our services so we can get families on that pathway.
Yeah. And I love that idea of co-partnering with the families and having them choose what self-sufficiency looks like for them. You say you provide a continuum of support. So you've touched a little bit on that. It can be workforce development. I know you guys do some stuff in the housing space. So what's it look like when a family comes to you? What's a door look like, and how do you serve them?
Yeah. So, and I worked in the emergency assistance space for a while. So just thinking about, let's say we have a family coming in for our walk-in hours. Oftentimes it's on their worst day possible. Their lights are being shut off, or they're in need of childcare assistance, or they need a job like yesterday, right? So they go into our walk-in hours not knowing where to turn or what to do, and then we have a resource advocate that they meet with And we do that quick basic intake. And then it could look like setting up multiple appointments to get them on the track to workforce, or financial, budgeting classes or different things like that. It could be getting some food today, and then, maybe next month they need something else. So, can you want to explain?
Yeah, I think, Eric mentioned earlier that there isn't a wrong door.
Right.
And we can't underscore that enough, because though, the path that Eric described is the path for many families or individuals, it also might be that a person finds Brighton Center as a whole by, maybe enrolling in one of our workforce development programs. And we really use a family-centered coaching approach through all of our programs and all of our work to learn from that individual what the whole household's situation might be, right? Because crisis is very rarely ever just a one-person situation,
Yes.
right? There's a family that person is part of, a community that person is part of, and us understanding what that household or what that that community is going through is just as much part of that individual's self-sufficiency as just their unique story is. So, we use family-centered coaching to really understand what is going on with this household. What how can we meet the needs of the person that's enrolled or engaged themselves, but maybe their children.
Mm-hmm.
We have star-rated child development centers. All of these ways that we can really come around the family and meet the needs of different generations within that household structure. Because oftentimes, those things are potentially a part of the self-sufficiency mix. Maybe a person who's enrolled in one of our workforce programs wants to go into full-time employment, but if they're the primary caretaker for maybe a child or, an older adult or somebody with health challenges,
Mm-hmm.
those things all impact that person's ability to then fulfill their hopes and dreams in terms of that career. So.
Yeah, and touch more on that workforce development program and all of the programs, because I know it's not just one, because that's something here at the Chamber we're very connected with you all with, and I know so many of your community partners are really trying to solve this workforce development thing from so many different angles. So tell us a little bit about what Brighton Center is doing in that space.
Sure, yeah. Workforce development is one of kind of the big impact areas for Brighton Center, and probably for really clear reasons in a family's journey, right? When people think of what self-sufficiency means for themselves and their families, it means having money to pay the mortgage or pay rent, and to purchase the food their family needs. There's a most people tend to think of like, well, I need a job when it comes to my family's self-sufficiency. And so it's no surprise that workforce development is a big piece of Brighton Center's services to the community. So to that end, we have several job training programs and or pre-apprenticeship career exploration options. But Brighton Center is also one of the contracted partners that operates the Northern Kentucky Career Center, which is a network of partners. So we have the honor of collaborating with a lot of the region's workforce development providers, community-based organizations, educators to come together around the community and serve job seekers and employers through the public workforce development system in the region. But specifically for Brighton Center, you'd mentioned like what are those kind of workforce development programs? What do those look like? So we have two pre-apprenticeship career exploration programs. These programs are very similar. So you're going to hear me talk about the model, but know that there's two programs. Mm-hmm. There's one we call Trades to Success. That is for individuals who are interested in learning about the skilled trades. So think construction, HVAC, carpentry, plumbing, electricity, that type of work. We also have a program, again, very similar in terms of their model. It's called Bridge to Healthcare Careers. These two programs are very short term. They're 4 weeks. They are pre-apprenticeship, meaning that we are really trying to lay the foundation for folks to go into formal registered apprenticeships, mm-hmm. Which is that combination of job and post-secondary education, right? But that's not the only path out of that, right? Sometimes folks just don't know where to start. We hear that all the time, really. A person may think of healthcare, for example, and most people tend to think of doctor or nurse, right?
Right.
There's so much more out there in the healthcare field than just those two career pathways. So our goal with both of those programs, Trades to Success and Bridge to Healthcare Careers, is really to help people just understand, what do those industries mean? What are the jobs that could fall under there? What are the industries? what jobs might you need a credential for versus which ones could you maybe just go into with, just your entry level experience or maybe the experience you have from another industry or job. And those programs are really about learning about those opportunities, gaining some basic kind of foundational topics, right? So in trades, we're obviously, kind of thinking more about like OSHA and, what are those topics that pertain to all the industries in the skilled trades. In healthcare, maybe it's your CPR certification or understanding some basic medical terminology. But from there, we're really working with you to identify your pathway. You have a career navigator who works with you one-on-one to kind of pick that path, whether that is that apprenticeship or maybe just a post-secondary credential that's outside an apprenticeship or even an entry-level job. The goal of that is to help that person choose a path and then to successfully navigate that. Mm-hmm. We have a computer basics program called Digital Foundations. Most people, when they think of what it means to be job ready, oftentimes we hear, I could never do that. I don't know how to, I'm not very good with a computer. And those basic digital literacy skills are so foundational at this point to the work that we do in really any profession. You even think just about clocking in and clocking out. Maybe your job isn't a tech career or using computers as part of the day-to-day work function, but I guarantee you're probably doing something as part of that interfaces with a computer, even if it's just applying for the job itself, right? That's all done online these days. So Digital Foundations has a one-day workshop, a 2-week workshop, and then up to a 12-week workshop that kind of caters to those differing needs. The one-day workshop is a kind of an intensive, just computer basics. Even, no question is a dumb question, right? Some people are hesitant to admit, maybe I don't even know how to turn this computer on. But we start with the basics all the way up through some basic internet navigation, learning how to use email, things like that. The 2-week workshop covers all of that, plus some of your workplace productivity software. So just a little bit of an intro to Microsoft Word, Excel, Outlook, things like that. And then our 12-week credentials allow a person to actually do a industry-recognized credential, either advanced manufacturing or logistics. Those are some areas where there's some good connectivity between using those computer skills out in the field. So that's our Digital Foundations program. And then our final one that I'll share is called Center for Employment Training. This is a 29-year-old program, so it's been around for almost half of Brighton Center's existence. Center for Employment Training is our accredited post-secondary job training program. So anything that you can think of when kind of college comes into your mind, we work at that level. Because we're accredited, we can utilize Pell Grants, things like that. We have to abide by all of the, quality standards and things that come with accreditation. So it is that true post-secondary level of education, but we just do it in a really different way. We have 2 pathways. We have a medical assisting program, and then we have an administrative healthcare program. It's called Health Technology Administration. And these programs are designed to be open entry, open exit. They're designed for adult learners. So you're very non-traditional students. Think maybe you're someone who always wanted to go to college, but maybe you had kids or something that prevented you from doing that when you were 18 years old. So these are programs where we're really catering to the needs of adult learners. It's 60% hands-on. All of the learning is done in the context of learning the job roles that you're going to be doing. So you're practicing your math by learning how to maybe convert something for a medication dose, right, to titrate a medication. You're learning how to get along with your colleague. What does it look like to relate to your colleague versus to a customer by being in some of those role-based scenarios? So we're really working to ensure that folks are learning in a way that is very complementary to the role itself. You can enroll without a GED. That is a really something that I really appreciate about our program. That's not a kind of a do this first and then you can get started on your career. You can dual enroll in both of those tracks at the same time and complete your GED while you're doing your skill training. It's open entry, open exit. That means that we don't have semesters or quarters or things like that. You can start training when you're ready. So there is an eligibility process. We don't screen in terms of maybe like if you are worried that maybe your math skills aren't where they need to be, that's okay. That's not part of our screening process. We just have to be able to ensure that we can put a funding package together for you. It's a debt-free education. It's not free. There is a tuition, right? The lights do stay on through the use of traditional currency. But it is not a cost that is passed on to our trainees. It's covered by grant-based sources of funding. We are certainly able to use Pell Grants if a person qualifies for that, or maybe they're participating in a state benefit program that we're partnered with, and we can use those funds. But we also have extremely generous, community partners that fill in those gaps and allow us to be able to put together those tuition packages that allow a person to be able to graduate with no debt and nothing coming out of their pocket.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with all of the partners that you guys have, what's the placements like for those? Like once people graduate, are you guys seeing high levels of employment?
I'm really, really proud of our program. Actually, in our last reporting year, our medical assisting program had a 100% placement rate.
Wow, that's incredible.
Highly in demand.
Yeah. And you guys are working with so many different people and partners in the community. Eric, it looked like you wanted to say something on that. Was there anything you wanted to add?
I have a specific success story in mind with a young man coming out of the Trace of Success program where he got employed working a barge. So he's probably going 5 miles an hour right now.
Yeah, down the river.
But just interesting employment opportunities like that where it's like, oh, I never even thought of that as an opportunity. Our career navigators are skilled in reaching out to folks and
Yeah. I really love that. And there's such an opportunity too that I know that you guys want to talk about for people and organizations and businesses to get involved with Brighton Center, not just to help on the workforce but development side, but like the whole package, the continuum of care that you guys provide. Tell us a little bit about how people can get involved.
Well, there's multiple ways people can get involved. And a lot of companies or folks might be thinking like, oh, this is too big. Well, what can I do to help out? There's so many social challenges, but small things help us out. So, companies we have a lot of group volunteer opportunities, fundraisers. So we have food drives, hygiene drives. Right now we're working with a few companies to do a suitcase drive. So our homeward bound shelter youth, so 11 to 17-year-olds, they come in the shelter with garbage bags. Yeah. And we want to provide them dignity and respect to, get suitcases and leave to their next part of their journey with suitcases. So a few companies are helping us with that. But we have events, our Wine Over Water event is going to be announced real soon. So we need sponsorships. We just had a wonderful 60th gala. So those wouldn't be possible without our corporate sponsors. But we can even cater opportunities to if employees, have certain like, oh, we'd love to get involved more with the housing, or we'd love to solve this issue or help you solve this issue. We can work with those companies to see how we can get you plugged in.
Mm-hmm. So, and Laura, how can businesses get involved with the workforce development side of things?
Yes, absolutely. We would not be able to do the work we do without robust and deep partnerships from our employer community. One of the things with our workforce programs is that you don't graduate until you get a job. You're stuck with us until that happens for you, right? Because that's the goal. So there's a few big things that come to mind. In order for us to provide these quality educational and training experiences for our trainees, we need to understand what employers need, right? What is, what helps a medical assistant become employable? What are those clinical skills looking like in your offices these days? What type of equipment? Is there anything that we maybe need to reconsider in our training environment? So we have technical advisory committees. Those are groups of employers that come together to help us understand exactly those things, what's going on in their workforces so that we can ensure that our training is, providing that high quality level of preparation for those careers. So joining one of our technical advisory committees is invaluable if you are connected to one of those either healthcare or skilled trades industries that I mentioned. Also, just helping prepare our trainees, right? interviewing is a learned skill, and you don't just come out of a training program feeling great that you can ace an interview. That takes practice. So maybe consider helping our trainees by helping with a mock interview or reviewing their resume. Any of those little things can just really increase confidence and also grow our trainees' networks, right? Learn from the experience of folks who have worked in the field. That's another great opportunity. Come talk to the skill divisions about a day in the life, right? Here's what it's like in my company, in my industry. Those are all really valuable ways that a person can give back, maybe if they're an employer. And certainly, if you're interested in hiring our graduates or posting an extern or intern, those are other opportunities. So, opportunities abound.
Yeah. What's the best way for people to get more information about those opportunities? Is the website? Do we want to hand out emails? What's the best way for people to get in contact?
Yeah, I would say I can throw out my email. I'm the community engagement liaison. So Owsley, EOWSLEY at BrightonCenter.com. And whether it's a workforce, whether it's getting involved in another way, I'm kind of like the front door. Like I can get you in and get you to someone. So
everybody call Eric.
Yes, not all at once, but
periodically we'll schedule it out.
Yes.
But before I let you go, it's been so great to talk about it. I know we have only barely skimmed the surface of everything that Brighton Center does, but I want to throw it all the way back to the 60 years of impact that you guys have had in the community. When you guys work every day, what's the impact that you're seeing? What does this impact mean to each of you?
Yeah, for me, I see, being at Brighton for 14 years, I see names and faces. I'm thinking about Center for Employment Training. There's certain names that come to mind when I used to work over there. Confidence, right? Someone coming in with just very low self-esteem, just not sure of themselves, and then going through a program like that. And you can see a change. You can see they have a different light about them, the way they carry themselves. Just because someone gave them a chance, just because they knew things were possible, they knew their future was possible. So I think of names and faces.
Yeah. Almost the same answer. It's hard not to when you get to see this work in action. I've been with the agency for 12 years, so kind of a similar experience. Lots of names and faces, and knowing where some of them are now is just there's nothing like it. We have a little tradition at Center for Employment Training. We do a formal cap and gown graduation every year, but we're open entry, open exit, so people are actually completing the program all throughout the year. And you have to have a job in order to graduate, and so we like to recognize that moment when a person gets that job. So the little tradition is called a clap out. We pause everything that's happening in the building, so workshops or meetings, whatever might be going on, we pause. And there's this big long hallway that goes through the center of our space. And at the end of the hallway, there's a board where everybody who completes our program gets to sign that board. And so everyone lines the hallway that leads to this board. The graduate gets to sign the board and then go through this cheering tunnel of people to kind of get clapped out of the building for their kind of final time. It's never their final time, right? But their kind of, metaphorical final trip down the hallway. And probably the most impactful part of that is that the graduate then shares with everybody a little bit about their journey, and then gives their words of wisdom to the people who are coming behind them, right? And I always think about that, that's somebody's first day who's getting to see that, or maybe for us as staff, we remember that person when they came in and lacking confidence, or maybe just so deeply in crisis that they just, couldn't see the light at the end, not even getting through that day, let alone getting through this huge accomplishment. And just the light and the joy in their eyes, and seeing their kids and their families there to support them, and just knowing what change that is making in that family, which then radiates out to the community. It's just so neat to be a part of.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I want to tear up. It's been a big day. I know I would
Always
be
welcome.
sobbing. But it has been so great to have you both on. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Anything else that people need to know about Brighton Center, about the work you're doing, about getting involved before I let you go?
Like I said before, like it could even be small things. Just give us a call, shout us out, share our socials.
Yes.
We want all the friends. The more the
Mhm.
merrier.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys both once again for coming on.
Yes,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Sarah.
Thank you.
It's fun.
Thank you to our Investors Circle members. Our Investors Circle members help us promote and support the development of strong businesses and a vibrant economy in the Northern Kentucky region. Thank you to all of these members for their investment, which will help the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce in our mission to develop and grow a thriving business community. Northern Kentucky needs tailored solutions to address our housing shortage. Home for All, Northern Kentucky Housing Strategies, explores how we can retain young adults, help older residents downsize or age in place, and ensure new neighbors have housing options that fit their lives. Dive into the report at housingNKY.org. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode of the podcast. If you're interested in learning about what childcare assistance programs you might qualify for, please reach out to EC Learn or Childcare Aware of Kentucky. Thank you to our podcast sponsor, CKREU, Google and Amazon advertising experts. We also have one exciting event that I would like to plug on today's episode of the podcast. Build more meaning into your business. Join experts from Brand Fuel Company for an energizing interactive workshop at the Fort Thomas Business Council meeting on Thursday, June 25th. At Distinctive Brands, Authentic Connections, you'll learn how strong brands stand out, even in crowded categories, and how to apply those principles directly to your own business. You can register at nkychamber.com/events, and you do not have to be a member of the Fort Thomas Business Council to attend that event. And finally, if you are a member who would like to be featured on the podcast, or if you're someone who is interested in learning more about joining the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, please reach out to Lynn Ablin. You can find her contact information on the screen in front of you or at our staff directory online at nkychamber.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys next week.